Today we're going to look at how to use the cosine rule in order to help us find angles, and unknown sides in non-right angle triangles. So before we even start, it's super important for us to know how to label a non-right angle triangle. So angles are usually labeled with uppercase letters, and those uppercase letters can be A, B, and C. They actually can be any number of letters, but A, B, and C are pretty much conventional. Now, if you decide to label clockwise or counterclockwise, that's really up to you. But what really, and truly matters is that if I choose to label this angle, angle A, then I have to look across to the side that angle A does not touch, and our side will be the lowercase a. In the same way, if my angle B is located over here, I have to go across the triangle to the side that angle B does not touch, and my side B will be over here. And the same for C. So now that's how you label a triangle A, B, C. Now, the cosine rule states that A squared equals B squared plus C squared. So far it looks very much like the Pythagorean theorem, but with a little adjustment on the end. 2BC cosine of A. So this would actually work for a right triangle, but it's not necessary because in a right triangle, this part just ends up disappearing. That's a little bit of extra information. Just know that for you to use a cosine rule, it's really only beneficial if you have a non-right angle triangle. Now, we could rearrange this formula a bit to help us more if we're looking for an angle. So if we're looking for an angle, the version of the cosine rule that we would want to use is that the cosine of our angle A is equal to B squared plus C squared minus A squared over 2BC. Now, those are the formulas, but if we wanted to, for example, if we were looking for B, in this case, if we're looking for side B instead of A, we could just switch it around and say B squared is equal to A squared plus C squared. And of course, switch it here as well. Everywhere you see B, just put A. Everywhere you see A, just put B. So the formula can totally be switched around. In the same way, let's say you were looking for angle C in this case. You're looking for angle C. Everywhere that you would see A, you would just put C. And everywhere that you see C, you would just put A. Alright, so if that looks a little bit confusing, don't worry about it. Just use the formulas as given. So again, A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC, cosine A, where A is the side that you're looking for. And again, cosine A equals B squared plus C squared minus A squared over 2BC, where angle A is the angle you're looking for. So let's actually give this a try. So in this example, we have two sides, we have the angle in between, and we're looking for the third side. We can use cosine rule here because we have two sides and the angle in between. Now, if we want to label this triangle in the easiest way possible, if we're going to use the formula A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cosine A, what you want to do is you want to label the side that we're looking for A. So if that side is A, then the angle across from it has to also be A. Everything else doesn't matter that much as long as the angles and the sides are across from each other. So angle B would have to be across from side B, and angle C would have to be across from side C. Now, only one angle is actually relevant in this problem, and that's angle A. So in this case, we are going to now be able to plug into the formula. A squared, which we don't know, that's our x. So x squared is equal to b squared, which is 13 squared, plus c squared, which is 8 squared, minus 2 times 13 times 8 times the cosine, that's an 8, times the cosine of 42, because that is our a. Now, at this point, you may choose to break it into little pieces and find out what 13 squared is and what 8 squared is. However, it actually is slightly easier if you type everything into your calculator in one shot. So while you're doing it, I'll do it as well. And so I have 13 squared, I'm typing this into my calculator, plus 8 squared, minus 2 times 13 times 8 times the cosine of 42. Once it's all in, I have here that x squared will be 78.426 approximately. But that's not our final answer, because that's the value of x squared. In order to find x, we now have to find the square root of both sides. So therefore, if I find the square root of that value, we get that x is equal to 8.86, approximately 8.86. And that's how you find the third side of a triangle given two sides and the angle between. Cosine rule can also be used to find an angle, any angle in a triangle, if you're given all three sides. And so the formula that we said we would use in this case is a rearranged version of the formula we were using before. And that's cosine A equals b squared plus c squared minus a squared over 2bc. Okay, so again, you want to label the triangle in a way that you'd find most convenient. In this case, we're looking for angle A, so we would want to put our A over here because that's the angle that we're trying to find. Again, we want to make sure that our side is across from that angle. So angle A and side A are across from each other. Now, as far as B and C are concerned, we can choose either side to be B and either side to be C. Doesn't really matter as long as our A is correct. Now, we can now plug into the formula. Cosine of the angle, which we do not know, is equal to b squared. In this case, b is 15. So 15 squared plus c squared, which is 11 squared, minus 9 squared over 2 times 15 times 11. Now here's what's super important if you're going to type everything into the calculator in one shot. Please make sure you have told your calculator, make sure you program into your calculator that the entire top is one piece and the entire bottom is another piece. So you want your calculator to correctly follow the order of operations. So now you can go ahead, and let's fix this cosine. We actually know that this is A. We can go ahead and type this into our calculator. Again, remember your parentheses. So we have 15 squared, I'm typing it with you, plus 11 squared, minus 9 squared, and that all goes into one set of parentheses, over, open up your parenthesis, 2 times 15 times 11, and close your parenthesis, and you get that cosine A is equal to 0.80303, a bunch of 03s. Okay, but it's not done at this point because we need to now do the opposite of cosine A in order to isolate A. And the opposite of cosine A is inverse cosine of A. So we're going to do that to both sides so that we can get rid of that cosine there. So inverse cosine both sides. And in your calculator, that's second cosine of the number. So second cosine of 0.8030. And let's see, we get 0.8030. And what do we get? I got that A is equal to 36.6 degrees, approximately 36.6 degrees. And again, you want to make sure that your calculator is in the mode degrees. Otherwise, you may be getting the wrong answer. So, or A is 36.6 degrees, which makes sense. All right, finally, I just want to do a quick recap of when you can and can't use cosine rule. Well, when you can use cosine rule. Okay, so here's the quick recap. You want to use cosine rule when you have a triangle that's not a right triangle. Otherwise, it's basically a waste of time if you have a right triangle. So you want to use it when you have a triangle that's not a right triangle. You have two occasions in which you can use it. You use cosine rule when you're given two sides, let's say 9 and 14, and the angle in between, let's say this is 40, and you're asked to find the third side. So when you're given some sass, you can use cosine rule. You can also use cosine rule if you're given all three sides. So let's say 9, 14, and 12, and you're being asked to find any of the angles. So you're given all three sides. You can use cosine rule. So those are the two cases in which you will find cosine rule helpful.